Well, guys, this week is the week of controversies. It is the hold my beer of controversies. We're in fact going to be talking about three controversies in 1 week, and it felt like every controversy we're talking about got more and more controversial by the day. We're going to focus on those main talking points quite quickly and discuss them at length. And what we're going to do, we're going to kind of flip this around. We're going to talk about those situations in the order that they're in, and just go from there. But just as a quick little roundup of everything that's gone on in terms of, let's say, the Europa League and the Conference League, here is where we stand. We've got Nottingham Forest that, oh no, that was a while ago. Hold on. Wrong Thursday. This Thursday. Aston Villa and Freiburg are into the final of the Europa League. Freiburg, a team in Germany, Aston Villa in England. England versus Germany, the age-old football match. And then the Conference League, Crystal Palace were playing Rayo Vallecano. Rayo Vallecano, a team in Madrid, famous for providing us with a certain player called Michu. The streets will never forget. We then also have the playoffs that happened and matches that happen there. What we'll do is we'll focus on the second leg because that at least gives us the aggregate and tells us who's in the final and go from there. But moving on into the Saturday, we had Liverpool drawing with Chelsea. It feels like Arne Slot has lost all of the fans now. Certainly lost me. I don't see how we can move forward from here. The decisions to take off Rio and Gamoa just felt embarrassing, to be quite honest. And yeah, like that's how I feel about it. Brighton beating Wolverhampton Wanderers, the whipping boys, so kind of expected. Fulham versus Bournemouth was crazy because Bournemouth had a player sent off, then Fulham had a player sent off, and then Bournemouth scored. Yeah, Manchester United, bit disappointing, 0-0 draw against Sunderland, but credit to Sunderland goes on there. And then Manchester City beating Brentford 3-0. And we're going to be focusing on the Scottish Premiership because that is one of the controversies we're going to be talking about, and mainly the title race. What was big for the title race was that Hearts on this day got a 1-1 draw with Motherwell, and that is important to talk about. Then we move on to the Sunday. And we got draws between Burnley and Aston Villa, Crystal Palace and Everton, Nottingham Forest and Newcastle United. Draws that really didn't help any of them. But then Arsenal beating West Ham United. That's going to be another one of the controversial talking points, and we will talk about that. And then in terms of the title race for the Scottish Premiership, Celtic beating Rangers 3-1. Then we just need to quickly just gloss over the fact that Rochdale did get themselves into League Two. They are promoted. Congratulations to them, and thoroughly deserved, to be quite honest. York City beating them by 1 point to win the title, and then Rochdale, getting 100 odd points and not getting promoted felt like it would have been a bit of a tragedy, to be quite honest, or a comedy. We'll take your pick from there. And then on the Monday, Tottenham Hotspur 1-0 draw versus Leeds United. But here we are going to be talking about the promotion playoffs here. In terms of the final, Hull City have made it through to the playoff final, as have Southampton. Sort of. Again, another controversy we need to talk about. On the Wednesday, Manchester City winning their game in hand against Crystal Palace, 3-0 victory for them. That was really important for them. And then in terms of the Scottish Premiership, again, Hearts beating Falkirk 3-0. That was incredible. That was important for the title race, as was Celtic's last-minute winner against Motherwell, winning their match in hand. And then Stockport County have made it to the playoff final of League One. 2-0 victory over Stevenage. Very impressive for them. Made it a 3-0 aggregate victory, so they've got their chance of getting into the Championship. There is also a battle going on today between Bolton and Bradford, and that will certainly be discussed. But in terms of the tables, this is where it leaves us. Arsenal, with 2 games left to play, have a 2-point advantage. It's pretty much in their hands. Don't screw it up, and they'll be title challenge. They'll win the title. In fact, it would kind of be a bit embarrassing if they were to let it slip from now. Manchester City can just do what they can, just basically need to make sure they win both of their matches, and they'll be, they will just do what they can. They will do what they can. In fact, that draw that happened a couple of matches ago looks like it's been quite damaging for them. Manchester United, they're in no man's land pretty much. It's almost impossible that they will lose third place. And then Liverpool, Aston Villa are having their own little match-up going on between them. And I'm kind of hoping that Liverpool win that battle between Liverpool and Aston Villa and stay fourth, because in terms of Aston Villa being fifth and winning the Europa League potentially, we could be looking at Bournemouth in the Champions League or Brighton in the Champions League, because sixth place will do it. And here's the thing. Look at this battle that's going on for European positions. Like I say, 6 points in it. Chelsea just about pretty much clinging on. But here's the thing. If we get into a situation where like the top 8 still have a chance, we're still looking down to Newcastle. They've still got a chance of getting in there. But then in terms of the relegation places, it is pretty much guaranteed now it's between West Ham and Tottenham. In fact, it is guaranteed it's between West Ham and Tottenham, because it's a 7-point gap between West Ham and Nottingham Forest. So it is now between Tottenham and West Ham to slug it out to see who will be the final one to survive. Tottenham Hotspur have the advantage over West Ham because of everything that's gone on, but it's still 2 matches to go, and who knows who might slip up at the end. We're also going to be focusing, like I say, on the Scottish Premiership as well, and this is where we stand. Now, here is where it's kind of crazy. We have 1 match to go. Hearts have a 1-point advantage over Celtic. And who are Hearts playing next? Celtic. The last game of the season is basically a title decider. The trophy will be lifted in that last game, in that stadium. We just don't know which team's going to lift it. It is kind of crazy. But once again, there's a controversial moment that happened in that Celtic Hearts game that we will talk about. But let's jump on first into that match that happened in the Premier League between Arsenal and West Ham, the first controversial moment that happened, where Arsenal had that 1-0 win. And here's the thing. Arsenal had the lead. Fair lead. And then West Ham, as you can see here, it was a goal that was scored, and then West Ham fouled the goalkeeper, and it was called out to being a foul and disallowed the goal. So what's the controversy? What's the controversy if the goalkeeper being fouled was called out correctly? Well, the controversy is in consistency. You see, this has been a tactic of like 3 or 4 of the big clubs this season, is to crowd out the goalkeeper and to interfere with play and do it that way. And 8 times out of 10, it's been overlooked. Now, I want to mention right from the bat of where I feel this is unfair is not in terms of the title race. The reason I feel like that is because of the fact that it is because of the fact that Manchester City have also had controversial goals like this when they've been, interfering with the goalkeeper and they haven't been called out, right? So in terms of that, that's where I'm like, no, do you know what? Arsenal, it's a fair call for them. Manchester City have been getting away with stuff like that as well. So yeah, in terms of the title race, I don't care about it. In terms of the relegation picture, though, now I'm changing my tune. See, this point could have been crucial for West Ham. Brought them a point within of Tottenham, and in terms of them, they could have cried foul at this. And here's the thing. It's where, again, we're talking about consistency. From memory, these goals have been fine when it was for the bigger team. And there's always been this talk of smaller teams don't seem to get the look, right? This is where I'm parking my Liverpool fan here and just talking about it from the lesser teams in the Premier League. Because it does feel like that they only scrutinise it to try and disallow it for the smaller teams. And I suppose this is the thing, is that if this gets called out all the time, I am fine with this decision. Unfortunately, referees have not been calling it out consistently, and consistency has been the biggest challenge, right? The one thing that unites us all as fans is that when there's been these sort of iffy decisions, all of us can call to mind times when it's been allowed and times when it's been disallowed. Whether that be a goal, whether that be an offside, whether that be a red card. All of us can think of offsides that looked onside and onsides that looked offside, despite VAR, because of where the lines are drawn and when the lines are drawn. All of us can think of goals that should have stood, despite fouls. All of us can think of handballs that should have disallowed goals. All of us can think of incidents where some have been called as red cards, some of them have been called as yellow cards. That has been the problem, is the consistency. The decision itself is not the reason for the anger. It's the fact that these decisions have not been applied the entire season. Like, there have been times where Arsenal players have crowded the goalkeeper, potentially fouled him, and that's been how it is. Oh, and by the way, just one more thing to mention in terms of this. There were potentially other fouls that happened in the box from Arsenal players on West Ham players. No penalty called. And could you imagine, right, what would have happened if there'd have been just a common sense call? Talking to Declan Rice as the captain and going, look, here's the situation. West Ham fouled the goalkeeper, but you fouled one of their players as well. So, do you want it disallowed and a penalty given? But why is it only one foul that's being looked at and not the other? That's the challenge. That's the thing that provides a bad taste in the mouth. That there's no common sense. And the joke goes around sometimes that it's got something to do with Fantasy Premier League. Has somebody got Raya as in their fantasy team, and that's the reason they want, And sometimes it can be hard to push back against that comedy and basically go, yeah, it is just poking fun, rather than going, And I think that's what's frustrating. Again, it's not the incident itself, it's the consistency of the decisions. Now, I've got no skin in the game. I don't mind either winning it, whether it's Arsenal or Man City. It's when these things happen, it's just a bit meh. But like I say, that was the first controversy of the week. wasn't even the craziest controversy of the week. Do you remember that Celtic game I was talking about? Oh, this is crazy. So, Celtic, up until the last minute, it was 2-2. It was 2-2. Basically would have meant that for Hearts, if we'd go back to our table, Celtic would have had 77 points and a goal difference of 29, and Hearts would have stayed with a 35. Basically, Hearts could have lost 2-0 to Celtic if Celtic hadn't have got that third goal, and they'd have still won the title. They had a buffer. Really important buffer. So Celtic getting a last minute winner would have been huge for the title race. So here's what happened. This. Cross was put in. And apparently, the Motherwell defender handballed. Now, this is why this is controversial, because on the still image, it could look like a handball. But what this still image doesn't show is that after this incident, right, the ball flew away, went out to the throwing line, which wouldn't have been possible with the hand. You try hitting something with your hand and seeing how far you can get that. It takes a good, solid hit that only you can get with your head or your foot because of the power that goes behind it. You can't really get it with your hand when you're doing that. And then on top of that, you could mention the fact that his hands in an unnatural position. Well, the reason why his hands in an unnatural position is because it's been pushed up there by the shoulder of the Celtic defender. This was crazy. And you know what the craziest thing about it was? It wasn't given as a penalty originally. And VAR has this thing where it should only be intervening when it's clear and obvious that the referee made an error. Now, this does not look clear and obvious to me. And controversy number 2. Do you want to know how long it took for them to come to this decision? Referee went to the monitor, right? Referee went to the VAR monitor, and it took him 10 seconds to come to this decision. Oh, yes, I'm wrong. From this angle, by the way. There wasn't multiple angles. There wasn't an angle around the back where you saw where it hit. There wasn't an angle from the far side of the pitch. No one really saw it. So unless, I don't know, there was a nail in the ball, a fingernail in the ball, there would have been no way for the referee to have known. And this is why it's so big. Let's go back to that table. The Scottish Premiership has been a bit of a mess for quite a few years. Now, mess number 1 behind this is the fact that for the past, 20 odd years, it's always been won by either Celtic or Rangers. Add on the extra mess that because of Rangers going into administration, basically having to start from scratch again, Celtic won it so many years in a row. Rangers have won it once in this chain. It's kind of like you want to talk about what's a Farmers League. This has been a Farmers League for Celtic for so many years. And this is the opportunity for Hearts to break that duck. To break it. Break this tyranny that Celtic have had over the Scottish Premiership. So when something like this happens that is so controversial and benefits Celtic, and Celtic have had quite a few the past few games to get them into this position, it feels a little bit unfair. It's a difficult one to take. So I think there's going to be a lot of people hoping that Hearts beat Celtic or draw against Celtic to win the title. It's going to be a difficult ask. I'm going to be rooting for them myself. But yeah, it's a bit controversial, bit messy. Don't like what's happened. But we're in a similar boat. Celtic need to win. All we need is a draw. All we need is a draw. In fact, Hearts, can you just get all 11 men in the goal? Like, just block everything, you know? Anyways, final controversy. This is the most controversial. Because, you know how I said Southampton in a playoff final? Well, they may not be. They may not be. Because, well, they spied on the Middlesbrough training pitch prior to the semi-finals. And the EFL are not taking too kindly to it. To the point that they might even delay the final to make sure that there's been no ill gains from this. Now, let's start off by just looking at the facts that we're going to be in the situation that it's on Tuesday that they will be convening to see whether that's going to be the case, and it's next Saturday that the match will be taking place. So 5 days is fine, right? But you still got to get the fans buying tickets. I mean, the Hull City fans, they don't have to worry about it, but the Southampton fans, I mean, the one good thing is that Southampton is closer to London than Hull is, so it's not going to be too much of a mess, but it is still a bit of a mess to get your affairs in order to make sure that you're going to be at the final. So, what is my view on this? Well, I mean, it's ironic that this thing has been called Spygate. Because I'm sorry, Southampton. I'm sorry, EFL. There's only one Southgate. There's only one Spygate, and that's the McLaren Spygate. The one that got them disqualified, thrown out of the championship. I mean, maybe they've named that for that reason. I don't know. But am I being dumb here in not understanding what's so special about that? About spying on another team? Because you see, in other sports, it is a big deal. Spying in terms of Formula One, when it's private information that is crucial to winning a race, i.e. the way the car is designed, little features on it, little engineering features that are basically prototypes, it makes sense. It makes sense on that. So what about the spying on another football team? And I guess maybe you get to see the set pieces they're taking and how they're going to be lining up for set pieces. So I suppose maybe on that. And maybe if they are doing a special feature on Southampton, then maybe. But I mean, you still got to have the players. Like, I could spy on Arsenal tomorrow. Get a group of lads, right? 16 lads, and I'm going to, be in an FA Cup final against Arsenal. And I could spy on Arsenal tomorrow, but I still need the players. I'd still need to be a good coach to find a way around it. I don't know about you, I don't see what's crazy about it? What's so illegal about it? But ultimately, if it's against the rules, it's against the rules. The challenging thing is, this is quite close to a precedent, to be quite honest. Because the only other time this has happened was Leeds United against Derby County, when Frank Lampard was in charge of Derby County. And Leeds lost anyway. So the spying didn't help them. But the spying potentially has helped Southampton, and that's where things get a little bit sketchy. What's my thoughts on it? I don't know. I think it makes that one side of the playoff final very messy. Whether it's Southampton that end up staying there, or whether it ends up being Middlesbrough getting back up there. Is this feeling of... Basically, if Hull weren't to win it, then the winner of the playoff final wouldn't deserve to win it. Whether it be Southampton that don't deserve to win it because they spied on Middlesbrough, or Middlesbrough that don't deserve to win it because, they got away with it. You know, they lost. But because of a spying situation, it just... They've got away with it. So, what are the thoughts? Are we really going to be in this situation? I don't know. It just feels... I don't know if it's too much out of nothing, or whether it's deserved. I don't know. I really don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts on all these. Because these are controversial, there are a lot of discussion points. Whether that be the Arsenal-West Ham situation, the Hearts-Celtic situation, whether it be this Spygate between Southampton and Middlesbrough. There's a lot of talking points. I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Looking ahead, by the way, to the matches going on, we've got a big match to start us off with tomorrow, which is Aston Villa versus Liverpool. Really interesting to see what happens there. We've got the second leg of the playoffs between Salford City and Grimsby, and Notts County and Chesterfield, to see who's going to have the chance of getting into the third tier of the league. Then on the Saturday, we've got the FA Cup final between Chelsea and Manchester City. Crazy. As well as that match between Celtic and Hearts. Basically, we've got in effect, two finals going on. The Scottish Premiership final and the FA Cup final. And then we've also got, what else is going on here? Nothing else, actually, thinking about it. And then moving on into Sunday, that's when we have the rest of the Premier League matches. Manchester United playing Nottingham Forest, Brentford playing Crystal Palace, Everton playing Sunderland, Leeds playing Brighton, Wolves playing Fulham, West Ham hoping to beat Newcastle so that they've got a chance of staying up. By the way, we've also got an FA Trophy final. It's the equivalent of an FA Cup, but a small one, between Wilson and Southend United. So good luck to both of those guys as well. Monday, Arsenal, Burnley. And then I think on the Tuesday, Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur, Bournemouth, Manchester City. Chelsea will very much want to relegate Tottenham Hotspur if they can. And then it just keeps happening. Europa League final. Freiburg versus Aston Villa. Crazy. And actually, I think we're getting close to final day of the Premier League. Again, crazy. This is it. This is where we're really pushing. And I think at some point, you got the Conference League final as well. We've got final 2 weeks. It's the sprint now. Looking forward to seeing what happens. Looking forward to seeing your thoughts on it. We'll be back next Thursday reviewing everything, including those decisions that we've been talking about. And until next time, guys, all that's left to say is don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and take care.